There's so much confusion around contour and bronzer. Can you use bronzer to contour? Contour as bronzer? How do you contour for your face shape? Well, today you're going to learn all of that, my friend. I'm Donna with Beauty University, and I'm a professional makeup artist with over 14 years of experience, and I'm here to teach practical techniques for women new to makeup. So right off the bat, bronzer is a product and color. Contouring is a technique. So yes, bronzer can be used to contour as long as it's matte, but contouring can't be used as a bronzer in the way that bronzer was created. I have a video that explains this more in depth and includes the colors you should look for with bronzer and contouring. So I'm gonna put that link in the description box below because I highly recommend watching that one after this one. Today I'm going to talk about placement and how you apply your bronzer and contour. I'm gonna make it so simple that it doesn't matter if you've never attempted contouring before. And of course, I'll show you my favorite brushes too. I'll be using powders instead of creams because powders are way easier and quicker to apply. You won't be seeing any lines on the face in this video either. That way of contouring is just for show, and I don't recommend you follow it because you might not need to contour in the spots that those lines are going. For example, if you have bangs, you don't need to contour your forehead at all. And if you have a small forehead, you don't have to contour there either. So we're gonna start with bronzer, and we're gonna apply bronzer the way that it was created, which means that it's gonna go anywhere that the sun hits your face. So it doesn't matter what your face shape is, you're just gonna look in the mirror and you're gonna see, okay, well, what are the high points of my face? And when I get sunburn, where does it show up? For me, it's my nose, my cheeks, and if my hair is back for whatever reason, then it would also be on my forehead. So you know I get nasty sunburn right in this spot if I forget SPF, which fortunately, I haven't done that since my 20s. If you have bangs, you don't have to worry about putting any bronzer on your forehead. So I'm not gonna do that today on me because my bangs would cover it on up. But if you don't have bangs, you can take your brush and of course, brush the bronzer across your forehead. Now, when it comes to brushes that you're gonna use for bronzer, there are a few options. One of the most popular ones is a big fluffy brush that looks like this. This is a crown brush and, well, the number is not on it, but I promise that I will get you the right number in the description box so you'll be able to check it out if it's something that you're interested in. The reason that people like big brushes for bronzer is because it covers a large area really quickly. So if you're doing your forehead and you're going across your face, you're basically gonna have this on in 3 seconds. I, however, prefer a smaller brush because I can be a little bit more purposeful with it and I have a little bit more control. So I'm gonna be using this angled brush. This is also from Crown and the number is also rubbed, is it? Yes, it is rubbed off, but I will, like I said, I will get you the number and I'll put the right one in the description box. The bronzer that I'm gonna be using today is the Anastasia Rosewood bronzer. I really like the Anastasia bronzers, one, because they're matte, and two, it's really hard to find a good bronzer for my skin tone, and this one does the trick. It is pretty warm. I'm gonna swatch it for you so you guys can see. But it's not super dark, and see, once I blend it out, it blends very beautifully, very easily, and it just gives me a tint of color. The bronzer that I do use more often than not is this bronzer from e.l.f., which I'm going to use to contour, which we'll get to in just a little bit. When you're deciding on what brush you're gonna use, I do want you to make sure that you have something fluffy. I do see a lot of people recommend more domed brushes that are a little bit more dense, like this one, where you can see that it doesn't have as much movement on the bristles the way that this one does. If you use a brush like this that's dense, you're gonna pick up a lot of product and you're gonna deposit a lot of product. And if you have too much product on your face, it's going to be that much harder to blend it out and it's not gonna look as natural. And even though I have orange eyeshadow on and lashes, I do want my complexion to look pretty natural. I don't like seeing where one color is starting and one color is ending. So I'm gonna go with the fluffy guy. The way that I want you to hold your brush is down on the handle. And you're gonna hear me talk about this a lot, especially when we're doing eyeshadow. I want you to hold the brush further on the handle because this is also going to allow you to apply less pressure. And again, less pressure, less product, easier blending. So like I mentioned, because I have bangs, I'm gonna completely disregard my forehead. But I am gonna do my nose and I'm gonna do my cheeks because that's where I would get sunburn. So I'm gonna pick up the bronzer on my brush. I do have a tissue right here so I can dab off the excess. I'm a little nervous because I never wear I never wear bronzer like this. I do bronzer sometimes to contour, but I never do it just like this across my face because this technique also makes your face look rounder. And when you do it on the side of your nose, it squeezes your face in too, so you're gonna look round but also smushed. It's very strange. So it's not my favorite technique, but it does give you that sun-kissed glow, especially when you're gonna use colors like this. And because the color is pretty dark, that's also another reason why I wanna dab it onto the tissue, so I can have a lot of control over my placement and make sure that I start with something softer. So the first thing I'm gonna do is go right on my nose, and I'm going to hold the brush right in the center, and you can see my hand is very much at the bottom, and I'm just gonna go across the bridge of my nose. There we go, it already looks like I'm sunburned. I'm gonna take my powder brush, and you can do this too if you get too much product and you're like, well, let's soften it. You can just go over it and it will lift up some of the residue. So you can see it looks like I got some sunburn on my nose. I'm getting a little bit more on my brush, dabbing it on the tissue's right here. And when I'm doing my cheeks, I don't want you to apply it like you're going to apply blush. This is gonna be different. Again, think of when you have a sunburn, where would it go? It's usually right up here. So it goes across the whole veil of the face. So I'm going to hold my brush along the side, this is where the product is, and I'm just gonna give it a little shimmy right at the top of my cheek. So it really doesn't matter, like I said earlier, what face shape you have, because you're only going to put it where your cheek would get the sun. So when you're looking in the mirror, like I said earlier, your highest points of your face, if you're looking, where would the sun hit? Sun is gonna hit me right here. That's where I'm going to apply it. Yes, it is in a place that's similar to blush, but if we were doing blush, I would, on my face shape, be going a little bit lower. But I am keeping it higher because that's where the sun would go. I'm going right here on the other side of the face, and I gotta be honest, as I'm looking in the mirror, I kinda like the sunburn on my nose. It looks pretty cute. Maybe I should do this more often. You know, this is why I think it's important for us to try different techniques, because when you're trying new things, you might find along the way that you really like it, even when you thought you didn't, or that you wouldn't. So give it a go. If you think it might be something fun, try it. Worst case scenario, you can take it off and do something else. You could also add some of the bronzer onto your chin if you want. I'm not gonna do that. I don't really ever get sun there, so it's not a spot that I'm going to put any color, but it is up to you when you're doing your own makeup. Depends on how much color you want. Bronzer is designed to make you look tan, so I know there are some of you that might be watching this that are like, oh yeah, I wanna be tan and dark as possible. Go ham, my friend. But what I do want to tell you that is if you do put bronzer on your face, especially by your chin, you want to make sure that you're blending it down so it does all look seamless. It doesn't have to go everywhere, because think about it, like when you get a sunburn, you do have the redness on certain areas. I talk about the different color bronzers in another video that I'm going to link. I popped it up earlier, we're gonna pop it up again, so you can click on that after you're done watching this video if you need some color suggestions or want to see some options. Now, you might be wondering, when would I do this? Why would I do this? Well, you do this if you want this specific look, if you want to look like you just came from the beach. And I will say that if I was going to do this look on the regular, I probably would go with the softer eye look, but I know I'm gonna keep this on when I do the contour, so that's why my eyes are a little bit brighter. The other thing I want you to pay attention to is that I went lighter on my lips. And the reason I went lighter on my lips is because my eyes are intense. I've got, you know, this veil of color on my cheeks right in the center. If I had a bold lip, it would be too much. So I went softer on the lip because everything else is vibrant. If I had a softer eye, I could then go in with a really bronzy or orange lipstick or even a red lipstick, you know, then your options are endless. What this does for your face, and when it comes to face shapes, is it does make your face look a little bit more rounded. Contouring is gonna give you that definition, but bronzer, the way that it was designed, like this, is going to make your face look a little bit more round. Play with both things, see what you like the most. So I know I mentioned that a lot of bronzers have shimmer in them. The one that I use does not, but if you know me, you know I like a good shimmer. So if you also are on Team Glow, I want you to take a really small brush that you would use for highlighting. This is a Crown C517. I have a beautiful gold highlighter right here. This is from Soul Body, which is ColourPop's sister brand, and it is their Platinum Shimmering Body Powder. And we're gonna go a little ham with this. So if you like to highlight, you can still go and highlight where you normally would, right here on the cheekbone, and that will tie in really nicely to your bronzer. I'm using a gold highlighter because the bronzer is more warmer. So that's something I want you to keep in mind too. This wouldn't be the time to go in with like a blue highlight or a purple highlight. Definitely want to keep it gold so it ties into the color story. And just a little bit, maybe a little bit right here. I love a good highlight mustache. Okay, now let's go do some contour. And now we're gonna do some contouring. And it's gonna be very easy. Anyone can do this, even if you've never contoured before. Like I already mentioned, you can use bronzer to contour. You just can't use the contour to bronze. because it's not a bronzer color. Now, normally I do use a really cool toned contour color like I've showed you in my other video. But today, because I have a lot of these warm eyeshadows on, I am going to use the e.l.f. Primer Bronzer. And I love this color. You can see I use it often. Pretty much anytime I wear yellow, orange, or red eyeshadow, this is the contour color I will use because it's a little bit warmer than the one that I normally do. And it was only $6, so I definitely need to get another one. When it comes to brushes for contouring, a lot of people tend to use something that's angled or something that is flat and dome like this that I showed you earlier. Both of these can work, but I actually love a fan brush. This is the brush that I always use to contour, and you're gonna see why. It's very fluffy, and the shape itself, because it is so skinny, it fits perfectly into the hollows of your cheek. So it's kind of a no-brainer. And I'm gonna show you a hack. This is a hack that if you're like, I have no idea where to contour, I'm listening to your video, but I still don't know what you're saying, I want you to go at the top of your forehead and you're just going to drop your brush down. And if you see, as I let my hand fall and drop the brush down, it goes right into the curve of my face. So that's a cheat. That's where you're gonna contour, guys. No matter what your face shape is, you do that and you're gonna be able to make it happen. Now, if you don't wanna do that hack and you're like, well, can you just tell me really where to contour? Yes, I can. But I want you to touch your face. I want you to feel around for your bone structure. So when you're touching your face and you get to this hollow right here, that's your sweet spot. That's where the contour is supposed to go. When you're contouring, you're enhancing your bone structure. So you wanna go into the hollows of your face and enhance your bone. You're basically gonna go in the hollow underneath the bone so the bone pops out and it helps slims out or defines your face, whichever makes you, whatever you wanna call it. Now, when we blend, we're going to blend up instead of down. So I'm going to take my fan brush, put these other brushes to the side. So I usually put my brush kind of on the side and I swirl it around to get it pretty loaded. So just go like this, swirl around a little bit. Of course, always still dab the excess off onto the tissue. And then I'm going to turn so you can see. Here, let me pull my hair back so you can see exactly where I'm going. Now, you can use your tragus, which is this part of your ear, as a guide. That's where you're going to start. I know I wanted you to feel for your bone, so my hollow is right here. And like I said, no matter what face shape you have, you find that sweet spot. That's your point of intensity. That's where you want the contour to go. But the darkness should be coming from somewhere since it's a shadow. So that's why I want you to use your tragus as a guide, because you're gonna start here, you're gonna pull forward, and you're gonna stop in that spot. We're not gonna go all the way to the lip. No such thing here. And I definitely don't want you to go down. I want you to stay in this area. So got my product loaded with brush. Got my brush loaded with product. I'm going to put it close to the tragus and I'm just gonna pull forward in a one directional blend. It might look like I'm going back and forth because I'm moving too fast, but I'm going right at the tragus, pulling forward, lifting, and then going back. After you do this a couple of times, it becomes basically autopilot, so you can just go really fast and apply. Now, once you've got that product there for blending, I don't want you to blend down. That's gonna create a 5 o'clock shadow. You're always going to blend up to create volume, right? Because we're putting this underneath our cheekbone and we wanna lift this up. So I'm blending up towards my temple, and you can see it is coloring in this part of my face. Now, I like a little bit of a deeper contour. Here, I can even look forward and you can probably see already a little bit of a difference. It's already starting to give me some definition. And I like more. I love contouring, so I'm not going to use another color. I'm going to use the same brush, but I'm going to use the very belly of the brush. So you know when I first picked up, I used the side, now we're going in straight at the belly. So right there, and instead of going at the tragus, I wanna go to that sweet spot that I had you point out earlier, because that, like I mentioned, is your point of intensity. So I'm just gonna put the brush right there, give it a little shimmy, a little shake, let it deposit some product. It's making it a little bit more darker right there, and then I'm just gonna pull it on up. And there you have it, nice and contoured. Now, the other spot that I like to contour is my jaw because I want to get rid of this double chin. And if you don't have a double chin and your jaw is really defined, you don't have to put contour here. In fact, you don't have to put contour anywhere that you don't want to pop and feature. If you've got really nicely defined bone structure, you can, of course, enhance that, or you can leave it alone because you're naturally contoured. It's up to you. But if you are going to do your jaw, something that I want you to do is make sure you start behind your ear. I can't tell you how many times I even see this in magazines. People start with their contour right here in front of their ear, and you can see it. I don't want to see it. I'm trying to make the illusion that I don't have a double chin. So I'm gonna get the same amount of product on my brush, and I'm gonna start behind my ear using the same brush right here, and I'm gonna pull forward. Still do the one directional blend, still pulling forward, going underneath the jaw. So right here, going from behind the ear, underneath the jaw, over to the chin. And then now when you're blending, you can blend down. I don't want you to blend up because I want to pop your jowl. I want that to really stand out. So I'm focusing on this area. And the reason we're starting behind the ear is because, again, it's a shadow, so the darkness has to be coming from somewhere. And you can repeat that if you want. And if you want to go a little bit more ham, you can go a little bit right here, and a little bit more contour. And can you see the difference? Just like I showed you with bronzer, if you have too much product, you can use a powder brush to do any erasing. I usually always run my powder brush along the bottom of my contour just to soften it up. I'm not a really big fan of very strong lines. I want it to be soft and of course defined, but I don't want it to be over the top. So I always usually, like I said, take my powder brush and just buff it away. And there you have it. Of course, I have to put some blush on, so I'm just gonna pop a little bit of blush right on top of my apples real quick. So excuse me for a moment. The blush that I used is Quirky from Tarte, and the same highlighter that I used for the bronzer is Soul Body. And I realized that I didn't tell you the bronzer name or the contour name I use. I just said it's the e.l.f. Primer Bronzer. It is called Forever Sunkissed. That's the shade that I use. I believe it comes in 3 different shades. So to recap, you're going to put your contour underneath your cheekbone. You're gonna feel around your own bone structure to find where the sweet spot is. You're going to blend using your tragus, blending forward, and then you're going to blend up towards the temple. And just so you don't forget, don't go past the edge of your eye. I don't want you to take your contour all the way to your lip because that is going to totally change your face shape and it is not going to be flattering. Keep the contour in this area. Then you can have your blush on your cheekbones and your highlight above that. And that's how you get a nice defined look. I love side-by-sides because you can really see how placement plays a huge role in how your face looks. I've got 2 totally different things happening with the same eyeshadow and lipstick. Neither look is better than the other. It's all about what you're feeling and what you like. I always encourage my students to try all the techniques because you may find something you like and that you didn't think you would, just like how I like the bronzer on my nose. I invite you to do the same, my friend, and tag me in your posts on Instagram at Beauty University so I can love on your face. Now you know where to contour for your face shape, how to get the sun-kissed glow, and which brushes are best for you. If you have any follow-up questions, drop them in the comments below and let's chat. I'm here to make sure that you feel confident in your application skills and obsess over what you see in the mirror. Thank you so much for hanging out. Make sure you subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss out on any of the makeup tips and tricks. Until next time, love, light, and all the sparkles. Bye-bye.